Coronation Street spoilers for Monday the 4th of August tease that something dark is going on beneath the cobblestone streets of Weatherfield, a mystery that has shaken the lives of Carla Connor, Lisa Swain, and a growing list of people connected to the long-dead Becky Swain. Carla Connor returned from the grim confines of the women's prison with something more than just memories. She returned with a name that echoed in her mind like a ghost, Tia Wardley. A whisper in a corridor, a scribbled note slipped through the bars, and a cold warning from a fellow inmate had left her obsessed. Who was Tia, and why did her name send chills down Carla's spine? Her search online returned nothing. Not even a trace. It was as if the name never existed. Frustrated and disturbed, Carla turned to the only person she could trust, Kit Greenhalgh. A seasoned officer, now working in a lower-profile division of Greater Manchester Police, Kit owed Carla more than just gratitude for her help in a past corruption scandal. When Carla called, Kit answered, but when she uttered the name Tia Wardley, his voice faltered. "That's not a name you drop lightly," Kit said quietly over the line. "Give me some time. Don't look into this on your own." But patience wasn't a virtue Carla possessed in abundance. As she waited for Kit's follow-up, she wrestled with the question that had clawed its way into her mind: had she already gotten too close? The more she delved into Becky Swain's past, the mysterious circumstances surrounding her so-called accident, the more she felt herself being dragged into something bigger, older, and far more dangerous. At home, Lisa Swain had begun noticing Carla's growing distraction. The once self-possessed businesswoman now paced hallways at night and stared silently at her phone as though waiting for a ghost to call. Lisa, too, had her demons. She had spent the last year trying to navigate grief, heartbreak, and lingering suspicion over the death of Becky. Now, with Carla encouraging her therapy and coaxing her into moving forward, it felt like they were building something new together. With Betsy and Ryan preparing to move into the newly bought semi-detached home with them, Lisa had hoped the change of scenery might dull the constant ache Becky's memory left behind. But instead, Lisa felt it intensify. Something about Carla's concern wasn't just about comforting her, it was investigatory. Intrusive. "You're not just doing this for me, are you?" Lisa finally asked one evening, her voice trembling. Carla looked up from her laptop, lips pressed together. "I want you to be okay, Lisa. But there's more to Becky's death than anyone told us. Maybe more than anyone knows." Lisa closed her eyes. Then stopped looking. "Please. If something's been buried, it's buried for a reason. But secrets don't stay buried in Weatherfield for long. Not when Logan Radcliffe is involved." Logan, serving time for a string of white-collar crimes interlaced with darker rumors of witness manipulation and violence, had agreed to see Carla when she visited. But his cryptic responses, nervously spoken and interlaced with veiled warnings, only deepened her unease. "You think Becky just died," he whispered, eyes darting to the prison guard nearby. "Some accidents are made to look that way. She knew things. Too much." That was all she got before Logan was taken away. 2 days later, news filtered back to her. Logan had been beaten nearly to death in his cell by another inmate. Officially, it was labeled as a random altercation. But unofficially, Kit called her back with grim urgency. "Logan's attack was a warning," Kit said. "This Wardley thing, it's not a name. It's a code. A signature. And it's old. Real old. Becky might have stumbled into something. Something massive. The files are gone. Sealed, moved, or destroyed. I'm risking my job, just digging this deep." Carla's blood ran cold. If Kit, a trained investigator, couldn't get far without risk, then what chance did she have? But it was too late to back out. Meanwhile, Lisa found herself unraveling. Every therapy session brought up more questions than answers. Every breakthrough came with an emotional cost. She tried to focus on rebuilding her life with Carla, but a dark fog clung to the periphery of her thoughts. Her police work began to suffer. She misplaced reports, forgot appointments, and once walked out of an interrogation halfway through. Her superiors noticed, and Lisa was quietly advised to take a leave of absence. That's when she knew, something in her had broken the day Becky died, and it was only getting worse. But just as Carla contemplated putting everything to rest, something happened. A woman appeared at the cafe. Her clothes were ordinary, her demeanor calm, but her eyes held a storm. She asked for Carla by name. When Carla came over, the woman opened a small, worn box and slid it across the table. She wanted you to have this. Becky. She told me if anything happened to her, to find someone named Carla Connor. Carla's hands trembled as she opened the box. Inside were photos, half-burned notes, and, most shocking of all, an old USB drive. Who are you? Carla whispered. I was Becky's friend, the woman replied. And she was onto something. Something very bad. She wasn't supposed to die. But she knew she might. The box ignited a firestorm. Kit reviewed the drive and confirmed the files contained classified records, confidential informant reports, redacted intelligence memos, and one memo marked with the code word, Wardley. The documents painted a terrifying picture of a covert operation within the Greater Manchester law enforcement structure, a clean-up crew, silencing those who got too close to internal corruption. And Becky had been their latest casualty. Now, Carla stood at a crossroads. Every instinct told her to walk away, burn the evidence, and move on. But her conscience screamed otherwise. Becky had died for the truth. Lisa was slowly losing herself in grief. And Betsy, the next generation, was already asking questions. Late one evening, Carla found Betsy sitting in the kitchen, poring over the contents of the box. You shouldn't be looking at that, Carla said softly. Becky was my mum, Betsy replied, eyes fierce. And I deserve to know who killed her. Carla sighed, torn between protecting the girl and honoring the truth. Once we open this door, Betsy, there's no shutting it again. But it was too late. As the truth threatened to breach the surface, whispers spread like wildfire. Someone had broken into Carla and Lisa's home, but nothing was stolen. A warning, perhaps. A message. Kit stopped returning calls. And deep in the prison hospital wing, Logan opened his eyes to find a new inmate transferred into the neighboring bed. A man with no name, no records, and a familiar, chilling tattoo, the same mark Carla had seen in Becky's notes. The box was only the beginning. What it unleashed was a cascade of events none of them could control. The documents on the USB drive began to reveal names, shadowy operatives, shell corporations, encrypted exchanges between officers under pseudonyms. At the center of it all was a chilling web of systemic corruption, dating back over a decade. And as Carla dug deeper, it became clear, Becky Swain had stumbled upon something massive. Her death wasn't just a cleanup, it was a statement. Lisa had no choice but to confront the truth. When Carla finally laid out everything, the files, the photos, the code word, Wardley, Lisa felt the earth crumble beneath her feet. She had spent years convincing herself that Becky's death was a tragedy, not a conspiracy. But now she understood why Carla had been so persistent. Becky had been trying to protect them all. Haunted by what she now knew, Lisa demanded to see the full contents of the drive. With each name, each date, her rage intensified. Some of the names were familiar, retired officers, prosecutors, even high-ranking officials in the local government. Others were ghosts, their identities scrubbed clean by decades of cover-ups. And then, among the corrupted, a name appeared that stopped Lisa cold. DCI Gareth Fennick. He had once been Lisa's superior officer. A mentor. A man she trusted. But the files painted a different picture: falsified case files, hidden evidence, and the systematic targeting of whistleblowers. Gareth had led a covert task force, Wardley, operating under the guise of internal affairs, but functioning more like a hit squad. Kit's silence began to make sense. He had disappeared because he'd gotten too close again. Lisa's hands trembled as she picked up her badge. "I'm not taking leave. I'm going back in. If Gareth's involved, I'll bring him down myself." Carla warned her. "You can't take this on alone. They already tried to silence Becky, and now Logan. They'll come for you too." "Then let them," Lisa snapped. "Let them try." Meanwhile, Betsy had become more than a curious bystander. She was relentless, connecting with people who had once known her mother, gathering old letters, emails, anything she could find. She tracked down former colleagues of Becky, community outreach workers, probation officers, even a disgraced journalist named Matthew Crane, who had been investigating Manchester police corruption before mysteriously resigning. Crane agreed to meet with Betsy in secret. He confirmed Becky had come to him a few weeks before her death, desperate and terrified. "She told me she had a story that would bring the city to its knees," he said. "Then she vanished. I got a message that said she'd been in an accident. But she wasn't the kind of woman who died without a fight." Betsy shared what she had, and in return, Crane offered something unexpected. A recording. In the scratchy audio, Becky's voice trembled. "If they find this, I'm already gone. But if Carla Connor ever hears this, tell her not to trust anyone in uniform. Wardley is real. And they'll never stop." When Carla heard the tape, her blood froze. Becky's voice was a ghost speaking from beyond, but it was also a directive: keep going. Lisa, now fully committed, confronted Gareth Fennick directly at a police conference in the city. Her presence wasn't subtle. She asked him outright about the Wardley task force. He laughed at first, brushing it off. But then, behind closed doors, he gave her a veiled threat. "Lisa, some rocks are better left unturned. For your sake, and your girlfriend's, you might want to let the past stay buried." That night, their house was broken into again. This time, the box was gone. Carla found herself spinning. Everything they had, every lead, had just vanished. Lisa was shaken, and Betsy was furious. "We still have the audio," Betsy said. "We've got names. We don't stop." Ryan, who had mostly stayed quiet through the ordeal, began to show signs of unease. Carla caught him on a call late one evening, whispering in the kitchen. When she confronted him, he claimed it was nothing, just talking to an old friend. But Carla wasn't convinced. There was something in his eyes. Something evasive. The next day, Ryan was gone. No note. No message. His phone disconnected. It was as if he'd vanished. Lisa's fear reached new levels. "They got to him. They're picking us off one by one." But Carla suspected something worse. Ryan hadn't been taken, he had switched sides. She remembered Becky's recording: "Don't trust anyone in uniform." Maybe that included more than just the police. Maybe Ryan, too, had been a watcher. A plant. Meanwhile, Kit resurfaced. Bruised, limping, and afraid. He showed up at Carla's workplace in the middle of the night. "They found me. I don't have long. But there's one more name." Tia Wardley wasn't just a code. It was a person. A deep-cover officer. The first whistleblower. She vanished years ago. But I think she's alive. And hiding? Carla pressed him. Where? Somewhere in Scotland. She's off-grid. But if anyone knows how to destroy Wardley from the inside, it's her. And just like that, Kit disappeared again. Carla, Lisa, and Betsy now had a final objective. Find Tia Wardley. Expose the truth. They set off without telling anyone. 3 women against an institution of shadows. Their journey north was filled with paranoia. Tail lights that followed too closely, hotel phones that rang, but no one spoke, strangers who watched them too long. In a small village near Inverness, they found a woman running a forgotten bookshop under a false name. Her eyes were weary, her voice brittle. But when Carla whispered the name Becky Swain, the woman froze. Becky was brave, she said. Too brave. She didn't run. I did. She was Tia Wardley. And she had every file. Every contact. Every rotten truth. But she warned them. If you publish this, they won't just threaten you. They'll erase you. Like they did to Becky. To me. You want justice? It's going to cost more than you can imagine. Lisa stood up. Then we pay it. For Becky. For Ryan, if he's gone. For all of them. They returned to Weatherfield with a mission. Tia gave them the tools, secure files, contacts in the press, legal experts who owed her favors. Within days, anonymous drops were made. Leaked documents found their way to investigative journalists. Names began appearing in national papers. The term Wardley was now part of public discourse. But the war wasn't over. Lisa was suspended indefinitely. Carla received threatening emails, and one night, someone threw a brick through their window. Betsy was expelled from school after a smear campaign accused her of hacking. Yet public pressure grew. An inquiry was launched. Gareth Fennick was placed under review. And then, one morning, Logan was found dead in his hospital cell. Official cause, suicide. But none of them believed it. At his funeral, Carla stood by the grave, her hand on Lisa's shoulder. Betsy beside them, unblinking. We keep going, Betsy said, voice steel. Until every one of them is named. Lisa nodded. Until every lie is exposed. And Carla, staring into the earth, thought of Becky. Of what she had lost. Of what they all had become. The truth had cost them everything. But it was no longer hidden. Now, it was war.